should be doing more of talking then, so that the people can understand what exactly is coming out of that agency or institution. Recall what happened with the NLNG that you would want to call maybe bailout fund that was got from the NLNG. A lot of people never knew that they had that amount of good in the NLNG, just the way we're getting to see with the SWF.
Of course. Well, we can and we should. But the reality is we've only been in operation for 2 years, and there wasn't really much to show until now, to be honest. We have been profitable, and we've been vocal about that. The future fund, I'm going to talk about in a minute because I'm sure you're interested in that. There are a few good things there. But it's like I keep saying, my personal strategy is show and tell. Tell and tell is propaganda. Show and tell after you've actually done something becomes easier for people to relate to. You go to the Second Niger Bridge project, you can see the columns going up. Now that is something we can show. The pipeline project we invested in, something we can show. We invested in agriculture financing, something we can show. Nigeria Mortgage Refinancing Company, we invested in that. We actually, to a large extent, incubated that business. We put only 22% of that. That is a business that we can show. So quite a few things are now able to be shown. But just one last point on the infrastructure side, and I'll come to future side. Every project has to have a national impact. So when I look at this Second Niger Bridge project, people don't realize this, but more than a third of the traffic comes from non-southeastern region. I think it's important. So it's a national project. If you're going from Makurdi to Lagos, you go through that bridge. People don't realize, if you don't go Goja to Lagos, you go through that bridge. So it's actually a national project. That's number one. Number two, it's a major critical artery road, just like Lagos-Ibadan. If we have too much traffic on our major artery roads, we lose economic productivity. So this thing is something that I think people need to understand. More transport means more velocity of money, which means growth in GDP. Very simple. So I think that most of our businessmen and our people would rather pay than sit in traffic for 3, 4, 5 hours. So some of these things are some of the things that drive the criteria. So profitability is just one. National impact is another one. The fact that we can actually add to overall economic growth is the third one. But more importantly, we can actually attract foreign direct investment. So that's really how that business works. Now, can I talk about Future Fund for a sec?
Sure.
Now, before you go to, sorry to interrupt you, before you go to Future Fund, you're aware of, how politically dicey sometimes public-private partnerships can get.
Yes.
How is the Sovereign Wealth Fund handling that particular politically dicey part of it?
There are two aspects of it. The first is public engagement and engagement with the political class to make sure they understand the value of the project. The second aspect is through contracts. Look, when we get into this investment, we bring co-investors with us. So the contracts have to be to a certain point that people feel comfortable investing. The engagement is to make sure people understand that this is important. And that's an ongoing process. Listen, there is no place that I have seen toll bridge built in a PPP where there is no controversy. And most of it is accountability. Do we know what you're doing with money? How is that? And we've tried to be as clear as possible. We are probably the only agency I know that audits itself every quarter, and we publish our audited quarterly accounts.
So you intend to sustain that?
Oh, it's our process. It's accountability. It's our process. We publish our annual accounts within the first 90 days of the end of a year. The last one was published on March 28th. It's accountability. We have to do that to make sure that our foreign partners are comfortable with us, which is why we've ended up being one of the highest rated in terms of transparency. And I'm surprised about that. Our people should go on our website and read more about these things. It's kind of hard to be on the air all the time talking about it. Just pick up the account and read. It's all there. Quarter 1, 2014, Quarter 2, 2014, 3, 4, Annual Report 2015, Q1 2015 is there. Q2 2015 audit, which is June, has just been finished, it's been approved, and the accounts will go up. So these are things that we must do. So expecting to hear from me all the time is one aspect to it, and I'll try to do more of that. But people can also go on www.nsi.com. This is not an organic observation. But you can go to nsi.com.ng, downloads, and pick up any of the reports and read. And
so just before we go to Dave, just one more question. So from an initial $1 billion investment, how much would you say now that the Sovereign Wealth Fund is worth?
So we made 15 billion naira of profit, 15.7 last year. So that is technically, I mean, if you take out the exchange rate and it was 167, that is kind of roughly $75 million of value addition into the business. Markets have been volatile. I don't know what the final numbers are going to look like for the end of the year, but we've also been a little bit profitable in the first half of the year. We'll see how the second half brings, because we have market exposure, and I'm going to explain that in the future fund at the moment. Okay. So that's really all there is to it.
Let's talk about the future funds then before we wrap up.
Sure. The future fund is simple. There are asset allocation decisions made by the board, okay? And here we have an allocation of 25% of the future fund, which is effectively 10% of the overall fund in the equity markets. We have 25% in what is called private equity. Private equity is one of the best performing asset classes in the history of the world, frankly, because you can make sometimes 2-3 times your money, but it takes time to get there. We have an allocation of what we call hedge funds. We have an allocation of something we call other diversifiers. The whole idea is to have a well-diversified asset portfolio that over time grows. And this asset allocation is not very different from how our peers have allocated their assets. The only difference is most of our peers receive extra contribution. We haven't really been able to do that. But our idea is that over time we can earn 4% plus inflation rate, US inflation rate, which is roughly around 4.5–5% consistently over time. There'll be times when it goes up, there'll be times when it comes down. But over 10 years, which is our investment horizon, we expect that that will be a way for the fund to grow. There have been a few interesting things we've done. We have invested in some private equity asset classes that has actually started to generate a lot of quick return to the sovereign wealth fund. I think we bought an asset for something like $55 million, and we've received, as we speak, more than $20 million back in returns. This is within a year. So there are one or two of those kind of smart things you can do, or lucky things, as some people will say. Actually, in this case, we're lucky. But that is really what the future fund is. Broad asset allocation. It's going to be hard for me to explain this every day to the people, but if you read about it over time, you can actually learn how that's works. Stabilization fund is simple. It's just there as cash. Doesn't really do much. Yes.
Could you, is there a timeline? There is a timeline, and tell us what is it with the bridge and the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway?
Sure. The bridge, so far, we have, the project development is ongoing. We've spent only $2.2 million on project development, which is way below standard, by the way. The European Investment Bank would tell you that the standard tends to be 10% of the total cost of the project, which in this case, $700 million project will be up to 70. But we've been very prudent. Most of that is because we've also had partners like the UK DFID that sent people to help work with us on infrastructure in general and on this bridge in particular. So we've kind of kept the cost of consultancy down. The best consulting firms we can hire, a combination of both Nigerian and international. So that's where we are.
So it's a completion date for both of them?
The bridge will be 4 years from the moment from this year. And let's be realistic. A lot will depend on whether we can raise the financing. Some of the events of recent events can affect investor confidence in some ways, but we're still hopeful that we can raise the financing and complete it in 4 years. It's 11.9 kilometers project. It's not small. It's not, people keep saying it's a small bridge. No. It's actually a big bridge, and it goes around Asaba and Onitsha, because you can't put a bridge in Onitsha now. The place is packed. So it goes round. So it's a long rail.
It's a longer bridge.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive.
Very much like the third mainland.
In some ways, yes.
So what about Lagos-Ibadan?
Lagos-Ibadan work is
completion date?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the sponsor on Lagos-Ibadan. Okay. I'll be an investor on Lagos-Ibadan, and it will depend on how the sponsor. I'd rather have them take the credit for giving you a timeline for when that will be completed. Okay,
because we were just wondering, maybe the section that we went through the other day, they haven't gotten to that area yet, but
yes.
No problems. We'll see how that plays out. But thank you very much indeed for coming on this morning.
Pleasure.
Mr. Orji is the Managing Director, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority.